Okay, great. So just a little backstory on the UpToDate Actor. As most of you might know, we are a mother-daughter business. I basically took my mom's 30-year career as a career consultant and publishing the directories. You might have seen us in the Drama Bookshop and Ripley Greer, where what we say are the white covers. We've been selling directories of agents, managers, casting directors for the tri-state area for the past roughly 30 years. And I basically said to my mom, we got to move into the 21st century and we got to go digital. Paper's gone. And she not so reluctantly said, go for it, Abby, do it. So the UpToDate Actor is that product of what has come out of digitizing her whole database. And really, we get asked this a lot, so I might start here as far as how are we different than a lot of other sites that have contact information. And one of the main distinct ways that we are different is that we are the only service out there that is really actor first, meaning all the other ones were created because there already existed a database, be it for casting directors or for agents, and then they kind of thought, actors want all this info. I can make money by selling it to actors. And so that's why we say they're not actor first. They will restrict a lot of information. It's confusing, it's hard to use, because it really was just an afterthought of let me make some money off of actors this way. Well, we're the opposite. We basically have been for actors 100% from the beginning. And we really tried to create a platform that fills in a lot of the blanks and then combines what you would normally need many different services to achieve. We're trying to put all in one umbrella. And then a little bit else, we are literally in our first year, so we're very, very new. And we're still adding features daily. I love any feedback. So if you say, hey, this one little thing I don't see here and it would be great, it's helpful for me, please email me. I'll put my email and everything in the chat, but it's info@uptodateactor.com. And I'm telling you, if you email me with an idea, I will do my best to implement it in a quick fashion. So I'm really wanting to just build a tool that can help you and really put the power back in your hands. We talk a lot about how acting can feel, the business side at least, can feel like a whole bunch of closed doors, and how you don't have the key to get in, or it's very restrictive. And so we want to break down that door and at least give you all of the information that's available to help you get in the door. And then once you can take proactive steps and not just sit on the couch and wait for your agent to call, or sit on the couch wishing you had an agent, if you can actually take steps, specific steps towards advancing your career, not only will you feel just more content and comfortable because you know you are actually taking steps forward in the right direction, but it can then open up so that you're even more creative and more free in your auditions because you feel prepared. So we're all about preparedness here at the UpToDate Actor. Okay, so now that I've kind of done my little opening spiel, I'm just going to quickly read through a few more of these little chats and then we'll get going. And I'm going to probably flip the screen so you won't really see me, and instead you'll see my screen. So I'm going to walk you through actually the UpToDate Actor, and you can follow along if you have an account by logging onto your account. It's not necessary. If you don't have one, you can just sit back and watch and then decide later if you want to create an account or not. So give me 1 second. And again, for anyone who's new, who just signed in, please use the chat box to ask me any specific questions. I'm going to start by doing kind of a general of just where information is, and then we'll get into much more specific. So please use the chat box. Okay. Yes, Cameron, I got your email, so I will definitely address that. Okay. Okay, cool. So I don't know, I can see kind of some of you who have your video on, I can see you. So maybe just nod or not if you're familiar with our directories, which were like the New York City casting director directory, the agent books. You can kind of just nod if you're familiar with that or not. Cool. Okay, basically, I'm going to start by showing you how you can recreate that. So give me a second. Okie doke. Okay, cool. Everyone's seeing my screen? So this is when I log on to my dashboard, this is what I see first. Yours might look a little bit different if you don't have any targets or upcoming appointments, but this is kind of your home main page when you log in. As every Wednesday, if you're new, you'll get emailed a little tip. So these are these tips. You'll see them populate more as your account is longer. And I would really highly recommend reading those emails that come in, because there's a lot of information about how to use this. So if you forget anything, you can check that out. The main number one, two things that you need to know. One, if you know exactly who you are looking for, you want to click up here, and that's where you would search for somebody specific. So this is not where you would search if you're just like, hey, show me casting directors. Again, this is for only if you know exactly who you're looking for. So if I start typing Telsey, it's going to pop up Bernie Telsey and Telsey and Company. So this is how you will find specific information that you're looking for. Now, as I said, I wanted to quickly show you first how you would recreate one of our books. So if you're familiar with our directories, how you would create those blanket, just general kind of searches of casting directors, agents, and managers and projects in your area. So this right here is the main navigation. It's the most important thing. Sometimes people don't know that it's there. Without that, you're really missing out on the site. So when you click on it, this is the main navigation. You'll see it's broken up into database info and user info. The database info is anything that it's not your information. So it's not your auditions or anything you've entered. It's solely our database. So when you click on it, you'll see here agencies, casting directors, managers, what's currently casting, regional theaters, plays and authors, acting schools, and networking events. So let's just real quickly click on agencies. So again, this section is all database info. It's all those books. And again, it's nationwide. When you signed up, you were asked to select one main market. And that's solely because if you didn't have a main market, these lists would be exhausting. It would just be nationwide, it'd be too much. So it defaults when we go to it to whatever your main market is. So my main market is New York. So you'll see I'm showing default information for the tri-state area. If you signed up and said your main market was California, or if you signed up and said it was Georgia, like Atlanta, the Southeast, you should be seeing here either California information or Atlanta information. And I'll show you in a second how you can change that. So even I, as a New York person, can see California info and vice versa. So here we've got an alphabetical list that gives you just a quick overview of the company name, the city that they're in, who they represent, and if they're seeking anybody. You'll see down here, some of them say signed and freelance and seeking. So it's just little quick blips for you to see these people are seeking. This one right here says that they only work with clients who, like, through a signed contract. Now you can click on one of these, and oh, a little fun thing you'll see right here, A3 Artists, which used to be Abrams, it says upcoming networking event. So that means somebody at this agency has an upcoming networking event, which is great for if you want to, if you're trying to get an agent and you want to meet people, do your homework before you just sign up for an event, and that way you can make sure that your time and money is well spent. So now let's see. So yeah, sorry, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So I can click on A3 and it opens up in a new tab, and here is all of their information. So they're formerly known as Abrams Artist Agency, all of the unions they're affiliated with, their main address, phone, website, emails. Now we just started adding this as of last week. We're adding now their social media, so you can quickly click on it and connect with them that way. And then here you'll have a secondary address. We are in the process of changing this so that it'll be easier to filter and find bi-coastal agencies, but that'll be a few weeks down the line. Here, because you see that there's such a large agency, you've got their whole staff list over here, which is huge. And then because it's a large agency, we split up all the staff into departments. So you'll find them listed here. And then at the bottom, these are articles that pertain to A3. So a lot of, since they just rebranded in the last year, a lot of information on that. And especially with COVID, there's been a lot of information for agencies about furloughs and changes about that. Here you can also see who, again, they represent. And then we let you know what their submission preference is. So here it says does not accept unsolicited submissions, and that they're bi-coastal. If they say that they accept via email or via mail or postcards, yada, yada, that would be here. A quick note on submission preferences in general. I'm gonna quickly flip back. This was Cameron's question. I think she emailed me about just kind of with COVID going on, what is the state of everything as far as mailing, emailing, how do you stay in contact with people? We just finished calling actually our tri-state agents. That's one thing, I'm missing people here. That's one thing that sets us apart from our competition as well, is that we actively call our database. We call our tri-state about at least once every 2 months, and we try once a month, especially pre-COVID. And we just finished calling all of the agents, and about half and half are either splitting their time between remote and the office, or the other half are really not going back. There are a few full-time, but most of it was half and half. So because of that, now is not the time to do a mailer. It's just people aren't necessarily in the office. There were some people who said they were checking the mail, but I wouldn't recommend it. Really what you would want to do is email somebody right now. And also in calling the agents, we asked if they were still actively seeking new talent. And really a lot of people said yes, that they still were, or they gave us new specifics. So it is actually an okay time to reach out and try and find an agent. We've updated all of our agent info online. So again, you can find that as far as who they're seeking, and then you can kind of create your hit list. So I'm gonna flip back the screen. Let me know if you have any questions or anything throughout. But Cameron, I hope that answers your question. You should not feel discouraged. Now's a good time to try and get an agent. Okay, so I'm going to close out of Abrams, and here now we're back to the agents list. So now I can click the filters right here, click this bar, and these are all the different ways I can filter the agent information. So right now I'm selected NYC Tri-State because that's my main market. I could click the first, show me agents who are seeking talent. And show me, maybe let's say I wanna kind of get my odds up of actually being called in. Let's say show me agents who have an upcoming networking event who are seeking talent. And let's go one step further and say who represent musical theater talent. It's actually probably not a good. Music theater is one of the few that has been very hard hit as far as obviously with the industry. So let's do film and TV and click apply filters. And so here we go. That's funny, I don't have my networking events there. So maybe that, did I do that? Okay, that might be a little glitch that I'll fix. But you'll see here that now we've got only people who are seeking talent. And when we look here, it says film TV for all of them. So now you can kind of start looking at them and clicking into them, finding out more information, seeking new talent, 18 through seniors, seeking new talent, all types and ages. If they tell us that they're seeking, specific ethnicities, we will put that here, seeking triple threat, men and women theater performers, Asian actors, men ages 30-40 who sing, and all ages for film TV. So you kind of can see how you can start to narrow down your search. Now, let's say that you click on BRS Gauge and you're like, okay, I want to try and connect with them. So this little star right here, when I hover, it says click to save to my targets. When I click that and it turns orange, it's then saved to my targets. Company added to your targets page. Okay, what is that? So when I click, you can you can go home by clicking on the logo or main navigation and clicking here, or user info and dashboard. So several ways to get back to your dashboard. So now if I go to my targets, you'll see here in targeted companies, BRS Gauge. And by adding targets, you will get notifications via email and then on your dashboard of any upcoming networking events, any changes to the staff, any changes to the address. For any of your targeted projects, you'll get notifications whenever casting is announced or a change to the status. For instance, if something goes from on hiatus to shooting or casting, you'll get notified. So the idea is create your hit list, create your targets, add them here, and then you can kind of, I hate to say sit back, but you can a little bit and know that we're gonna keep you just in the loop of anything you need to know about. Also, any news articles pertaining to any of these people, companies, or again, the projects. Also with the plays for theater people out there, obviously this is a little rough time right now, but people are announcing new 2021 seasons. When you add a play here, you will get notified of any new regional theater that adds that play to their season. So again, you get notified for literally anything. We're trying to really just, we do all the work of combing through stuff, so we do that so that you can kind of sit back a little bit. Okie doke. I'm just checking the chat for a second. Okay, someone has a question of what's the difference of for represents versus for seeking, which is a great question. So for instance, let's go back to A3. So they represent, they're a huge agency. They represent a wide range of people, children through adults, for theater, musical theater, film, TV, commercials, voiceovers, print, and hosts, by referral only, also represents literary. So that's who they represent, but they might only be seeking children, or they might only be seeking voiceover actors in their 60s, or they might only be seeking new Asian talent, or African-American talent. So it's, the seeking is just who they are currently trying to add to their roster. Whereas again, represents is everybody that they represent, but not necessarily who they are specifically looking for at this time. Okay. Congrats, Richard, for getting signed. That's great. It's true, people are signing right now. It is not a bad time to try and get an agent. Okay, so now let's go back to the agents. Okay, so everyone kind of getting how we filter? We use this button. And then again, oh, so I didn't show you this. So now let's say I could also be a local hire in Atlanta. I can click on Georgia. I'm gonna take these off and click apply filters. And now you'll see that I'm looking at all of the Atlanta, Georgia, or just really Georgia agents. And again, signed only, seeking, and it's the same thing. So the same thing applies to managers. Same kind of filters. I'm not gonna really go through it again, but you get the idea of it. But now let's go to casting. So if you are trying to, if you say, I don't really know what casting directors I want to meet. Let me just come back. So one thing that we talk about a lot is that you need to, no matter if you have an agent or not, you should know 10 projects that you're right for. And when I say 10, if you're a theater actor, that's 10 theater projects. If you're into film and TV, that's 10 TV projects. Why not 10 films? That's because films, they get announced really early. You're not gonna have a breakdown or a script unless it's based on a book, which we then link to and let you know that, so that if you're a reader, you can read about it in advance. You don't really have a lot to go on though with films as far as what a film is about. A TV show, on the other hand, once that pilot is out, you can watch that. Once you get into the second season, you could have binged on Netflix the whole first season. So you can really do your homework and understand if that TV show is a right fit for you. And when I say is a right fit for you, I mean, do you fit in the world of the show? Ethnically, that could be. Some shows are very heavy in one ethnicity or the other. That could be age-wise. Is a show all younger based and you are in your 20s or can play teens? that's a huge thing. If it's, you know, very cop-based, cop, you know, is a general thing, but think about how many different cop shows there are, and they are all so different. Blue Bloods is different from Law and Order, which is different from FBI, which is different from then all of the other ones. Find what makes them different and find which one resonates with you. That's then the show that you should be watching on Netflix, and then add them to your targets. I also like to say, write the breakdown that if you saw it on, like the breakdowns are on Actors Access, if you saw a character description for one of your shows that you read and you were like, this is me. Maybe it's, you know, again, if you're younger and maybe the show has a family and you could play the cousin or the sister or brother or best friend or boyfriend. Imagine what that actual breakdown would say, that you, when you read, you went, oh my God, this is me, look no further. So do that kind of work, and that'll help define what shows you need to target. Okay, so let's go back to me share. Okay, so back at casting. So you can use this first if you just want to see who are the casting companies that say maybe you cast for modeling. You could do that. And that's not right, so I don't know why that's not working. I tell you, I literally like look at this all the time, and then you change like one little thing and all of a sudden it'll be wonky. Okay. So now we're looking at all the casting companies in New York that list commercials. So this would be a way for you to just kind of, again, start to familiarize yourself with certain casting directors. You can do the same thing then for California and do film. And you'll see a huge long list of all of the casting directors in California that cast for film. But this, as you can imagine, would be very daunting and overwhelming to try and filter casting directors this way. I would highly recommend, instead of finding casting directors this way, let's go back to the main navigation, click on database, and let's go by what's currently casting. And the reason why I say that is because if you're going to a networking event and spending money, meeting people, if you're really wanting to get on TV, be on a film, you want to meet casting directors who are actively casting in your market right now. Not somebody who casts indie films once every 3 months. So this is a list of, again, defaulting to your main market. So mine is defaulting to New York. Again, if you're in California, you'll see Cali info, and Atlanta, vice versa, or you get it. So now we can jump to TV. And so these are all of the TV shows shooting in New York in October. And yes, there are a lot of TV shows actively filming right now, or those who say that they are going to be back shooting within the next 2-3 weeks. It's been really hard to honestly keep up of how fast things have been coming back. So again, we've got Betty. Now over here, you'll see keywords. So we've now started adding keywords to projects to help you filter the projects, discover things that, again, are possibly right fit for you. If it's underlined, it means that it's a match with your keywords that you defined when you signed up. Diverse is the only one that gets underlined kind of for everybody, and I'm on the fence if I'm going to change that or not. What diverse means is it's different from ethnic. It means that it literally is a diverse group of people. So for instance, like Bull would be a diverse show, and the reason why is because they have a jury each episode. So a jury of 12 people who are completely different, completely random ethnic groups, ages, you name it. So in that sense, it is diverse. It is really not heavy in one ethnicity, one age group, anything like that. But as you can see, you can kind of see certain types. Some of them have more than others. You'll see here all of the principals, extra work casting, if there's an upcoming networking event. So what this means, let's click on City on a Hill. Here you have some TV info. So it's a Showtime show. It's 1 hour. It's a drama. It's in the 2nd season. There's 10 episodes. It's currently casting with shoot dates from October through next January. These are the keywords. This is who's casting it. These are web articles, info on it. So again, even if something's new, you can kind of click on that and see a little bit more information. And then lastly, we give you over here any upcoming networking event with anyone associated with these companies. And the reason why it's not just, say, for Nick or Judy, it's because sometimes they'll only list the one big person at the office who's casting it. But often the big people at the offices aren't the ones going to networking events. So you might be able to go and, say, meet the assistant or the associate. So in that sense, we put everybody at the office who has an upcoming networking event, and then you can kind of take a look. So for instance, Nick, I'm going to butcher his last name, Pesciaro, I guess, he's casting it and he's here. So if City on a Hill was one of your shows, you could then click on this. It takes you directly to the networking event. And then you can decide from there. We don't get any money, anything like that from this. It's just solely trying to give you as much information so that you don't then have to go to all of the networking events and search, is Nick going to be at any one of these? We try and put all the information there so you can just see it immediately. Do we have any questions about projects or anything? Okay, I'm just gonna keep on going until somebody says otherwise. Okay, so you can kind of start to see again now, so this again was just the default. Now, maybe let's go to pilots. There are still some pilots happening, very few, but there are some. So pilots, because they're brand new, you're not gonna really know a lot of information about them because they're brand new. But we can click on one. Let's click on Harlem's Kitchen. So you'll see it's a pilot. The production status is TBA, network is ABC, it's a drama. Again, current status TBA. It was originally slated to shoot in March 2020, so that was obviously COVID. It's shooting in New York, New Jersey. It's a drama, fine dining restaurant, kitchen staff, chef, waitress, family, Harlem, African American, and Latino. Here's all the casting info. So that's not a lot to go on, but if you look here, you can see this was the original article that says that they picked up this Harlem's Kitchen from Scandal Writer. And here it will give you actually more information about the actual show. So by reading these articles, you can kind of get a better idea of what this show is about, and then if you are right for it. We then again, if you thought this was a good show for me, you can then add it to your targets. And we'll see Harlem's Kitchen under pilots. And now let's look at even this. So this was one of the most recent articles about it. ABC drama pilot Harlem's Kitchen adds 3 to cast. So, okay, this right here is the 3 people being cast. So again, by seeing who's cast as the lead, even on a pilot, which again, you know nothing really about, you can get an idea of, do you fit with the whole background of the show? If you're white, this might not be your show to target, but if you're African American, and especially if you maybe have like cooking background, who knows, like it could be one to target. So again, that's why we add these that even just say who the cast is. You can learn so much about the breakdown of a show, even a brand new show, by actually checking out the news articles. We comb daily all the trade papers. So Variety, Deadline, IndieWire, Hollywood Reporter, and then for theater, Playbill, American Theater, Broadway World, and the New York Times. So we comb all of those and we clear all the clutter, all the mess about politics, all the reality show crap, and we upload things that we think will help you, so that way you don't have to do all this combing of all these news sources. And if you add something to your targets, you will then get notified of any kind of information that pertains to it. Okay, so now, again, maybe I could be a local hire in Atlanta. So we can change it and say, this is a big difference that I don't know that people are really aware of. So there's a difference, obviously, of where a show is shooting and then where it's cast out of. A show could be filmed in North Carolina, but is cast out of New York or cast out of Los Angeles. And so I think that the shooting in area is a very important one, because maybe you're from North Carolina. Then you could, let's do North Carolina. It's not going to have as much, but it should have some. So that's the only thing I'm going to select, click apply filters. And so here are 3 films shooting in North Carolina in October, 1 shooting in January, and 1 TV show in October. So you can see how even no matter where you are right now, even if you're still home in another state, you can find a lot of information of things that are casting. And then at that point, here before I go away, you could then contact one of these people and say, if you're, again, only if you're right for the specific show, you could then contact them and say, hi, I am, a New York-based actor or California, LA-based actor who's also a local hire in North Carolina, and I'm a great fit for Clear Lake. So that gives you an idea of how you could use that information with or without an agent to try and get an audition. You'll see here, they all have networking events. So you could then use that to say, okay, maybe I want to go and meet Caitlin. She's casting a film that's a musical, shooting in Raleigh, North Carolina, about Buddy Holly. So you start to see how you can really get ahead of the game and then make smart choices with your time and money. Networking events are so important. They're a huge way for you to introduce your talent, especially if you don't have an agent. But the main thing is use them wisely. Don't just say, oh, I want to meet somebody, let me just go spend money. No, do your research and then find the people who are currently casting projects that you are right for. I'll tell you just briefly why I fully believe this. Tell me which actor they want to work with. The actor that just says, oh, hey, I've been wanting to meet a TV casting director. Or the one that says, hi, I know you're currently working on X, Y, and Z, and I'm a perfect fit for them. And here's why, and then I'm so happy to meet you. They want to meet with the person who's done their homework. It just gives them a little bit more confidence in who they're potentially calling in and then showing to the producer. Okay. All right, any questions? Any questions? Okie doke. I'm gonna keep going then. So that is really, well, I'll do it real quickly. So the same principle applies. You can look at regional theaters. For those folks who are into theater, there's not as much info here, but when we do click into them, you can see, and again, this defaults to the New York area, but again, say you were from North Carolina, we'll just stick with that. You could say, show me the professional theaters in North Carolina that produce musicals, and then this would default to all of those. You could then click on one and find out more information. We list the seasons here, and then also we give you, means that it auditioned back in January of 20. And so then you can still even see the old audition information.
Wait, your screenshot is not up. Can you show us
You can also see what's one, I think San Jose had one recently. We still are listing all of the new audition announcements that come out. So for instance, San Jose Stage Company, they are looking at still going ahead and doing this show in December. And so the little notification comes up. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that you can't see my screen. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. I would have just kept on going. Okay, so what I did is, again, you can get to theater companies by going database, regional theaters, and you could then search for, again, if you're a local hire somewhere else, and you could say, show me the professional theaters that do musicals. And then again, you could click on any one of these and add them to your targets. So you would be notified of any upcoming season that gets added to it, any change of the staff, any change to their submission preference, and any auditions that get announced for the company. That's if you add the target. Then I just searched for one recently because I was saying that we have continued to add new auditions. And so this is one, San Jose Stage Company, which just announced an audition just about 2 days ago or so. And so if it's an online audition, you'll get a notification about it if you've selected theater as an interest. no matter what. But if you add any of the shows to your targets, you'll get more specific notifications of any upcoming seasons. But San Jose Stage Company just announced a few days ago that they are going to try and go ahead with this December show. And when you click on auditioning, here's all of the information about the audition. And with the submit by, that it's an online video submission. And we only reshare what is public information. So when you click on original audition notice, it'll take you to the original Broadway World audition post. So that always has more information about like who specifically they're looking for. So I always recommend clicking on this original audition notice. And going back to the other one, I clicked on one, oh, I know what it was Flat Rock. So you can see that Flat Rock in North Carolina, they last auditioned in January of 20, so before COVID. And so you can still see the most recent audition. So why is that important? Well, obviously they're not auditioning right now, but that lets you know of how that company tends to have auditions. Some of them will ask for specific submissions, even pre-COVID, they would do that. And then there'd be others who would only do an EPA once a year for their entire season. So just by looking at it, it kind of gives you an idea. Well, back in January, they did one season-wide EPA for their whole season, which obviously got canceled. But you can kind of start to learn a little bit more information about the place. Sorry, I'm just bringing up the chat. Okie doke. Any questions about theater? I know theater is kind of sadly not really moving right now. But then, okay, so say if you are theater-based and you don't really maybe know the shows that you're, or the regional theater specifically that you want to be involved with. But again, if you're theater, you should have 10 plays that you say, I am perfect for. I've either done them, I've coached with them, I have been working with my voice teacher on the songs for them for 5 years. I could walk in tomorrow if somebody said, please audition, and know that I can nail it. So those 10 auditions need to be on your short list, your targets, your hit list. So here you could then search for plays. Again, not this one, that's your main one, but this searches our play database. Here you'll see that these, obviously 2020 is a really weird year. So these numbers aren't necessarily fully true, just as things have been canceled and whatnot. But you can see what were the most produced plays and what were the most produced musicals. So, let's look forward. Again, we don't have tons of info yet on 21, 22. So you can see those Steel Magnolias. So if you can play a Southern lady, then that, maybe that's when you say, wow, there's 14 people doing this show, that gives me a higher chance of maybe being seen. So you could click on Steel Magnolias. You can see if it's published, and then you can link to see where you can buy it. Again, we don't make anything from it. It's just solely for your information. But you'll see here, these were all of the shows that had Steel Magnolias in their season. So now if you say, okay, Steel Magnolias is one of my shows, you can click the targets, it takes you back, and now you'll see Steel Magnolias. You can also, if you know all of the shows that you're looking for, you can just search here. So you could do like Little Shop of Horrors. Always, always, always select from the drop down when you see a drop down. You'll save so much time of, it's much quicker and efficient. Don't just like tab through it, click on it. So now you'll see Little Shop of Horrors. Maybe especially, let's see, if you're African American and maybe you want to target an author and do August Wilson. So again, now you'll get notifications for any new regional theater seasons that have a show or a production by this author. Same thing again with the TV, film. Why is film here? We do send you notifications of new projects. So I didn't mean to click on that. So this is my fake account of just testing things and whatnot. So you'll see I have 32 notifications, and that's because I haven't logged on to it in a long time. So here you'll see these are new projects that were a keyword match with me. So now I can then click on them and learn more about them. And then let's see, seems funny, a figure skating series. So it's a TV show that's in development, NBC, comedy, little description. There's no casting info right now because it literally was announced like 2 days ago, but they're producing a figure skating comedy series in development. On a side note, personal note, I actually did figure skate for a little bit. So this might be a show that then I'm like, you know what, I could be hired even as a featured background or something because I do have better than average actual figure skating skills. So you could read a little about it, see if it's right, then go back here. I could add this to my targets. So again, we don't know anything really about it, but I think it's worth it. So now whenever this show either gets upgraded to say not development, but actually has shooting dates, or if they announce more of the main staff, if they announce like who's the lead in it, any of that kind of news article, and then more importantly, when they do announce who's casting it, without me even having to look for it, I get notified of who that casting director is. So again, all the information just comes directly to you. Okay, so at this point, does anyone have any questions about the database info? Again, as far as how do you find things in the database? Does anyone have any other questions? Because I'm going to shift gears if there's no questions on that. While you're kind of just thinking about it or whatnot, I want to show you. So any of these targets that you've added, the targeted staff, targeted companies, targeted projects, if there's a networking event for any one of these people that I have added, or anyone at these companies, which let me pause for a second and just go into that further. So maybe I know that Mia Cusimano is somebody that I want to meet. Maybe I've like met her before, but I want to build a better relationship, but she specifically I want to meet. Then I would want to add her to my targets. If you're looking for an agent in particular, and same for casting, A3 is a huge agency. And a lot of agencies, even if they're not that big, they have many people. And so you might know, I want to be repped by About Artists, but I don't know who exactly is going to be the most open to new talent. So you could then add About Artists, or you could add A3, and then you'll get notified of anybody at the company who's having a networking event. So this way, you're not saying it's one person that I necessarily want to meet, but I just want to meet somebody at this company. So that's the difference between adding a specific staff member versus a company. So, but back to what I was saying, if you add any of your targets, any of your companies and projects, if anybody affiliated with either say the project or the company or the person is having a networking event, you will see it. You'll see the next 5 coming up here on your home screen. And you can then see all of them here. It's a short box, but you'll see that it's pretty long. So all of these are people or companies or projects that I have targeted where somebody has a networking event. And with any of them, I can click on it. And again, it'll take me to the specific company's page and more information on it. Okay, so nobody had questions about database info. So I'm gonna go on to the other features that we have, which are so many. I like to say, come for our data and stay for all the other features, because truly, there's just so much more to the UpToDate Actor than just our database information. One of the most important, I would say, would be adding an audition and adding an event. I'm gonna flip real quickly. Please remind me if I don't flip it back over. I will do my best to remember. So why should you be recording your auditions, especially now with COVID, with everything being online? It feels really easy to get lazy and just not record them. Recording your auditions and your events. So your events could be going to a cafe and meeting up with your friend who's also your writing partner because you're working on a web series that you want to pitch. That's an event. That's an event that's for your career, that you're trying to move your career forward. All of those need to be recorded. For one, the UpToDate Actor will help you remember all those connections so that in 6 months, 9 months, in a year and a half, you don't remember who you actually auditioned for for a certain show. It keeps track of everything. So again, you can kind of sit back a little bit and not worry about it. Or if you have been somebody who's kind of grown up doing this, of recording your events, be it on an Excel sheet or on paper. This is just a digitized version of that. So everything's neat. It's not like, oh, where was that slip of paper? When auditions finally do go back to being in person, and I do have some hope and faith that some of them will come back, certainly not all of them, but a portion of them will, that you need to, that you also, if you add the audition before the actual time, you'll get an email that morning that says, hey, you have an audition today. Here's all of your information. So where you're going, who you're meeting, what you were supposed to prepare, all of that stuff, so that you just have it on your phone and you aren't looking for the scrap of paper or the napkin that you wrote your information on. So trying to make just everything easier for you. Also, if you are claiming that you're an actor on your taxes, and at that point you can then take deductions. You can claim any of your expenses against any money that you've made on 1099s, and also you can claim a loss. So you don't have to just do this when you start making money. You can claim, I believe, up to at least 3 years of a loss and take your deductions on it. So you'd be really surprised, I mean, how much your headshots, then when you add transportation to auditions, transportation to coaching, all of the money you probably spent to get your self-tape set up, your ring light, all of that are deductions that you can take. But how does this pertain to audition logging? It pertains because you can't tell the government, the IRS, that I'm a professional actor without having serious date books and record keeping. That's like telling them, oh, I don't know, I'm any kind of business person, but I don't have any records of the business that I've done, of how I've been seeking work. So that's where audition logs and meeting logs come in. It's a business, and just like any other kind of business, you have to have record keeping. If you don't, it's considered a hobby, and the government says you can't take money. If I'm like a hobby knitter, I can't take the yarn that I buy for knitting because it's a hobby. But if I'm actively knitting sweaters and selling them, that's a different story. But you have to have all that bookkeeping set up. So that's where audition logging comes in. It's the simple step that you can do as your auditions come in. So you're actually doing that record keeping day by day, and not at the end of the year going through your, say, like your Google Calendar and being like, oh, when did I have an event? It's just a quick, easy way. At the end of the year, you can then print out a deduction report that you can then literally go to TurboTax or your CPA and hand it to them. So we're trying to make it as clear and simple as possible. So I'm going to flip around and show you how we can do that. Okay, so you can add an event in many different ways. You can add one by clicking here, this plus sign. You can also, you might have noticed that your picture floats down here on a lot of pages. It's here so that even if you're on, say, like somebody else's page, your little picture's right here. You can immediately add an event even from down here, from any page. You can get back to your dashboard, you can edit your information, or you can send me a little email. If you say, hey, something's broken, it's not working, or I'm confused, you can send me an email. But we'll just go up here. And you can also do it by clicking on your calendar page. We'll do that in a second. So I can click on this plus sign. It says add a new event. So from here, you could add even a coaching. You could add a networking class. So huge, why do you want to do that? If you pay, you know, a lot of these are expensive. If you pay $175 to go meet somebody, you can instantly record that deduction cost and that event. So you're knocking out 2 birds with 1 stone. You're recording your deduction and you're recording the actual record keeping for your taxes. So, but let's do that first, actually. I'm do a networking class. And we'll say, I mentioned Mia earlier, Cusimano. Again, always select from the drop down. We'll say that it's a film class and that it's next Tuesday at 6:30. And we'll say that it was $175. So I can click add and it will immediately add, obviously, or I can click more options. And here, maybe it is a repeating event. So maybe it repeats weekly for 2 occurrences, let's say 3 occurrences. And then I can say, is it a recurring cost or not? So this, I'm going to say no, it's not a recurring cost, because maybe this was a one-time fee that I paid for a 3-week class. Why would you want to click yes? Maybe every week I have a voice lesson, and the voice lesson is $60. So I could say, you know, have it recur for the next, you know, 10. And yes, I want that, you know, that recurring cost of $60 to recur. So that's a little different of how you can use that, but I'm just going to quickly bring this back to 3. And let's say that it's Actors Connection. And even though it's online, why would it be important that I actually click this and fill it in? Because then in 3 months, when you're emailing the person to say, hey, I'm following up, you're not saying, hey, I met you at one-on-one a few months ago, and then the person reads it and says, I haven't been at one-on-one. You know, you just little things like be smart, fill in the information. Now, if we were actually going back to in-person events, this is where you would say how your transportation. And the reason why this is important is that you cannot take the cost of your monthly Metro card, but you can take the cost of a single one-way ride. So even if I have a monthly Metro card, I can't take that full cost, but I could take this amount. So I know everything's online right now, so it doesn't technically apply, but I'm going to go ahead and put it in as far as that's what it is. And so we're going to go add meeting. Yes, I want to submit it. So now it took me back to Mia Cusimano, and you'll see here are my networking events. So these are old ones, but you'll see here it keeps track. So I'm on the database page. I'm on her main casting page, what she's currently casting, her upcoming networking events. But again, you can see that by me just adding something once, it's starting to keep track of all my communication and my you know, just how your relationship with somebody. So now we can go back to the dashboard and go to our calendar. You'll see actually out on the home that now this was empty a few minutes ago. It said no appointments. Now it has my 3 upcoming events. So you can click on here and get more information. Back in the day when we used to go places, if you put in the address, you would see the little Google map thing. I worked so hard on that. It made me so happy, and now it's not being used, but oh well, it'll come back. And then we click on calendar, and you'll see all of your upcoming appointments, including auditions. Anything that you add in that little box will be here. And then here are all of my past 2020 events. So it keeps track. So if I click on an audition, this is an old audition that I claimed that I had in January. You'll see information on the project, the audition. You could add a production company, who was casting it, who was in the room, the audition address, and transportation. You could also then add notes. Did you coach with it? What was the coaching cost? Did you self-tape? Was there a self-tape cost associated? That could be also the rental of a room or whatnot. Did you follow up date, a follow-up type? And I even love it when you click on postcard, it adds the postage to your deductions. And then if you ultimately get called back, booked it, or pinned. So if it would then, so let me click on Blue Bloods because I've added this audition. So you'll see here, again, I'm on the database page for Blue Bloods, but it's keeping track of when I auditioned for something. Do we have any questions right now about this, about adding? I'm going to add an audition now, but just if you have any questions about adding events or anything, please let me know. So I'm going to say it's an audition, and I'm going to say that it is actually regional theater, and that it, real quickly, I see Shori. Yes, you can. So you can type Blue Bloods up here. Now, again, this is just Blue Bloods, I'm saying, because I have added that I had an audition for it. So when I click Blue Bloods and I go to that page, yes, here's my audition information. But if you're looking at, say, your account and you haven't recorded an audition for Blue Bloods, you won't see this here. And also you can add your own projects. You don't have to just link to the projects that we list. We list only union work just because right now we are a small, tiny family staff of 4 people. And we would need a whole lot more help to add more. But eventually I hope to get there. But so now I'm just gonna do San Jose, but let's do this. So let's say that I'm doing a regional audition for the Alliance Theater Company, which is in Atlanta. So again, I started typing the Alliance and it popped up. If it's a match, always click from the drop down. So now I can say if it's a season-wide, meaning like the EPAs, if it's for every show in the season, I could click this and say which season it's for, or I could click this and say, let's go back to Steel Magnolias. So say it's for Steel Magnolias and click next. So now it says, should already have that there. I would say maybe let's say it's AA, it's a drama, it's not a musical, and let's say it's gonna be in February 2021. And you don't have to fill this in, it's just, the more info you put in, the more info you have. It's all just however much information. Oops, let's do the April 2021. I don't know how this got highlighted. There you go. Okay, and we'll say it's in Atlanta, Georgia. So now here I could either stop and add creative people, so meaning like who's the director, who's the writer, who's the musical director, anything like that. Or I could go skip that and say, let's continue to add the audition. Because again, this page that we're on right now is just the project. So then we get here, and okay, let's say it's a submission. My audition is next Monday. And we'll say that it's a self-tape. It's for a lead. Let's say, what is it? What's her name? Is it like Shelby? Here I can say I prepared monologue. You could say which one, or you could say that you had 2 sides prepare. Let's say floral dress. Okay, and then submit. And so then here I could say who's casting it. So there's a casting company and a casting director. You can fill in whichever one you have, or my point is that sometimes you just know that it's the company, it's Telsey, and you don't know who you're gonna meet. So at that point here, we put Telsey and Co. We'd add that. And so that's the company, but then maybe you do actually know that it's Rachel Hoffman. So then you would type Rachel Hoffman, and again, you could add anybody. So like Rachel Hoffman is associated with Telsey, but maybe there's a new assistant or something. Like let's just say, I don't want to do Smith, but we'll just, I can't even think anymore. We'll just do Bob Bell. I don't know, I'm just trying to think of something. So this is somebody who's not in our database, because you see that the drop down is not here. So you could click add staff, and there's Bob Bell. So now that person is in your database, your own area that nobody else can see. And then you click finished. And so now it takes you back to your audition. So it's upcoming Monday the 26th. Here's all of your information, again, for the project, and then the audition, then the production company, casting details, transportation, notes, post. And then maybe now I'm like, oh, I do actually have the creative team. So we'll just say Bob Klein is directing it. He is in the database, but again, you could put somebody who's not, and you click add. You can keep adding as many as you want. Finished, and now there we go. There's the director. So now we are getting close to the end of the year, 2020. Again, this is my fake little thing. I could click here on audition reports 2020. I'm not sure if you can see that I have a download that just happened. When I click on the download, it should pop up in a second. Here are my auditions in a more of an Excel type of format that a lot of people are familiar with. I don't know why that's not coming up. So yeah, oh, because it's there. So you could have that for if you're more familiar with an Excel type sheet. Now, let me show you, I've talked a lot about deductions and taxes. We can click on reports, and just by me doing audition logs, you'll see here audition expenses. It says 0, but it should have this transportation. Remember the $275 that I added? So now it's totaling all of that, even though I say that I haven't actually spent any money on an audition. We can go back, but you can see I've apparently entered for 2020 that I've spent $453 on acting classes and seminars. So here are different costs that I've added, and then the transportation. So you can see how, you know, things add up. So now here, with just, this is again a fake test account, it says that my deductions so far total $1,000.38. As somebody who, here, I'm gonna flip back. So I was a professional child actress from really a baby until through high school, and then went to college and came back and did some more, and then decided that it wasn't my love, and I found coding. I've coded this entire site. So that's why I say if there's anything that goes wrong or that you're like, this would be a great feature, please email me. I would love to hear that. So I coded this whole thing. But I really relied on not only my mom's career consultations, but also my experience of being an actor and what was missing to me, and now with everything digital, of what it could be. So I've been doing my taxes myself since I was about 13, and doing all the deductions and all of that. And I can speak personally that it adds up really fast as far as all of the headshot, acting classes, voice lessons. Then when you add transportation, and we used to be able to take show tickets, theater tickets, and movie tickets. You can't now, but maybe if things go better next, 2 weeks from now, that might come back. But you still should be doing all this. I hope you see how it can add up, and can really help work and report against any other income that you have. So just wanted to say that from a personal point. Do we have any questions about either adding a audition, an event, or adding deductions while you all think about it or type? I'm gonna then real quickly show you. So here from that reports page, you could then say, okay, download a report for my 2020 deductions. It downloads a PDF, click on it, and so here is your summary of your categories and what they total. And then here is the detailed itemized list of everything that you've input and how much it costs, how much it totals. So this is what you would hand to TurboTax or a CPA. I personally don't have experience of going to a TurboTax, but I would highly encourage you, if you are going to start doing this, to go to a CPA that has experience with performing artists, because a lot of people who aren't familiar with performing arts tax law don't realize how many things you can take off, whereas normal people can't. So that would just be my one recommendation. We have here these tax resources. This is VITA, Actors Fund, and SAG-AFTRA, and you can also email me if you have more questions or information about it. You can also add your income. I don't want to like bore you guys. I feel like I've been talking a bunch, so just I want to know what you have questions about. So just let me know if there's anything else that you want to kind of explore. I've kind of done a quick overview, what feels quick to me, of everything. Oh, I didn't really go over this. So you can also, let's go to, I have already Telsey, but let's just go to Telsey. Yeah. That's odd. Okay, so here, Bernie Telsey, you could target him if you wanted to. I would just say that I wouldn't. Bernie Telsey's never gonna go to a networking event, so instead just target his company. But you could add him to my contacts. And why would you wanna do that? You'd really just do it if you actually kind of have a relationship with somebody. It's like saving them to your Rolodex, but I can go ahead and do that. So now he's saved to my contacts. And then I can go back here to my contacts. And that shouldn't be there. See, I'm just finding things. Okay, well, I will have that fixed by the end of the day. You will then see all of your people there. I just did a huge server switch where we changed our server, and with that came some fun little glitches. So I've been trying to catch them all, and it sometimes is a daunting task. So, okay, I'm just gonna look here. Okay, so first somebody was asking what a networking event is. So many different companies, have what we call networking events, which is where an agent, a casting director, a manager, they get paid by a company to come and either teach a class, hold a seminar, or see up to 10 actors do a monologue or sides, and they state what they want to see and who they're interested in. And you as the actor can pay for that class or pay to sign up to, in theory, audition. It's not an audition, and they're very, very clear about that. It is not that you're paying to get hired. You're really paying for the educational aspect of listening to this industry professional, and it's a great way for you to introduce your talent if you don't have representation. Even if you have representation, people think that when they get an agent, this is all going to end and that you're magically just going to go out on all these auditions. Agents want to work with people who are doing their homework and who really know their world and know what the people who they need to meet and the shows they want to be on. So again, even with an agent, you would want to do this research and then go to your agent and say, can you get me seen for these? Should I go to these networking events? Should I introduce my talent to these people because I'm not being seen by them? So that's when we say the networking events can be fantastic. Just don't throw money at them and expect something to happen. You need to do your research and make sure that you're spending your time and money with people who you're right for, meaning they're currently casting shows that you are right for. Or they're an agent who represents your type and is seeking your type. Then that's who you want to go spend your time and money with.
Hey, Abby?
Okay, somebody said, I've entered an audition twice. How do I delete the second listing? So you can do that. Here I am. Okay, so you can do that by, going here to your calendar and then say, I want to delete this one that I just input, or if you've done it twice, you can scroll to the end of that pop-down box and say, delete Steel Magnolias at Alliance Theater Company, and then it's gone. So you can do that. Any other questions? Any other questions? Okay, well, I will hang out for a few minutes.
Yes, I have a question.
Yes. So when you're on your page, you can click on my account here. This is how you would add any of your information or change it. Again, you can then, here's your main market. You can change that, but again, there's really not a need because you can filter any amount of any other areas. You can then update your keywords by clicking on keywords. You can then add a photo. The photo is really just for you. It doesn't really do much. You can change your representation. If you have representation, you could add them here. And then subscription is all of your information about your subscription. So you'll see what kind of trial you're in or a paid one. If you're in a trial, there should be a button to upgrade if you do want that. And if you don't want to receive as many emails from us, this would be where you would change all of your email preferences. And yeah, we have some little things like you can check out Annie's recommended books. Here, you can also shop our books and labels. So if you're familiar with our directories, and you get a 20% discount by being a member of the UpToDate Actor. So that's if you still want a paper book, even though everything is digital, you can do that. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions. But
yes, Abby.
So, and then for anybody who here, if you're lost as to how to begin, so this is if you go to uptodateactor.com. I will put it in the. Go to uptodateactor.com. You can read more about it. these are our, I should talk about, we are a paid subscription. You can sign up for the free 1-month trial. That we do, it does restrict the contact info of the addresses and emails, and you can unlock it by upgrading. This is the discount we have right now, which is $20 off this annual gold. Somebody said my volume's off. Can you hear me now? So this is, okay, so this is our annual. This is a one yearly payment. It renews at $150. You can cancel in the last month prior to the renewal. So you can cancel or you can change plans. And then we have an annual silver, which is a 12-month commitment of $15. Or if you want to try us out a little bit, there's a 6-month commitment at $17. And they all auto renew, but again, you can cancel in your last month. So if you want to sign up, you first just click the big old sign up button and then fill out this information. And on the next, when you click here, then you will be directed to select one of the trials. Okay, I can unmute you guys. I was asking for questions through the chat box, but let's see. Okay, so if you have a question now, you can unmute yourself or just like raise your hand, and then I'll call on you, and you can unmute yourself and talk. Any questions? Yeah, Sarah. Oh, hold on, wait, unmute yourself, wait. Oh, okay, wait. I just asked you to unmute.
Okay, wait.
Oh, wait. Do it again, sorry, I clicked. Okay.
Good?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, wait. So I had really 2 questions. Sorry, I'm going back in the chat because I kind of forgot them. But basically, oh yeah. So one of them was about submitting with agents and stuff. So a lot of like the bigger ones I noticed say no unsolicited submissions. Can you talk about a little bit what, I guess, a solicitor, like, in order to submit to those, you need a referral from a casting director, a manager. What do those referrals look like? Do they speak for you on your behalf to the agent, or do they write you a letter that you send to the agent? What does that look like as far as like trying to get into the bigger ones like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So yes, unsolicited, no unsolicited submissions means that they don't want submissions. But we encourage you to be bold but again, only if you are a right fit. Don't just contact A3 and be like, I'm gonna be the next Julia Roberts. It's just don't. But yes, a referral can be many different things. It can be that somebody in the industry, being a casting director or a director, or if you have a friend or work with somebody who has said, yes, I'm with this company and yes, you can use me as a referral, they can either write an introductory letter or email and contact that person, but they can do that. You would still want to follow up. More common, I think, is more that they say, yes, you can use my name. So at that point, then you would write a cover letter and you would submit it to them. And now that everything is digital right now, the subject line is so important. You wouldn't want it to just be something generic that says, actor submission. You'd want to make sure that referral is in the subject, says referral from so-and-so, or, your client or director so-and-so or casting director. And then you would write the cover letter and say, so-and-so urged me to write to you. They speak so highly about you. You could say, I just worked with them on a project and they spoke so highly, and they mentioned you were looking for, you look young, like you could play teens. You look like, an 18 plus to play teens. They said you were looking for that type of person and wanted to introduce myself to you. Also, especially for ones that are hard to get in with, lean on those networking events. That's when, especially if you see that somebody's there, you'd want to go to that. And you can then also say in the cover letter, maybe you send the cover letter before that networking event, and you say, I look forward to meeting you at One-on-One's upcoming networking event. Now, don't say that and not show up. You know, you have to have booked that already. Or you could do the opposite. You can meet them at the networking event and then write the follow-up and say, lovely meeting you. If they gave you notes, you'd want to acknowledge those and say, I've already started working with my coach on, on working in the note that she's more edgy. I don't know, but you address the fact, and that also helps them remember who you were, because like, oh yeah, I do remember that lady who I said that to, or not, instead of just being one of the dozens of people that they saw that night. But yes, referrals are gold. Even if it doesn't say unsolicited, even if it says, yes, we're seeking, please submit, referrals are what really cause somebody to take notice of you. With that also, be bold. If you are working on set and somebody says that they have an agent, ask them, do you like your agent? Would you mind if could I use you as a referral? And they'll either say yes or no. And I wouldn't be upset if they say no. You know, people are weird, and not weird, but they're touchy. You also, if you are the same age bracket and ethnic background and whatnot, they might not want you contacting their agent. But they might not care. So definitely ask for that. If you build up a relationship with a casting director and maybe they've cast you, maybe they haven't, but they keep calling you in, or, you can feel when you know that you have that relationship. You can say, I'm really looking at getting an agent. Are there any agents that you recommend? That's not really a referral, but you're asking somebody who sees dozens, hundreds of people, hundreds and thousands of people, who are the agents that you call in from? And then if you feel comfortable, you can then ask further, and could I use you as a referral? You can also use, if somebody says anything about you that's positive, you got to write that down, you got to record it, and then use that. We often, and this is what my mom always says, about we don't love branding of like, I'm the next so-and-so, because I could say that I'm anybody. Like I'm great, I'm fantastic. But when somebody else calls me great and fantastic, that means a whole lot more than me saying I'm the next so-and-so. So if somebody gives you any kind of positive feedback like that, write it down and use it. You say, as casting director Bob Klein said, I am the next whatever. I can't think right now, but you get what I'm saying. All of that goes into a well-crafted cover letter and is how you actually move forward and open doors. But do follow up even through email and right now, and do use those networking events strategically.
I did have one more question. I'm not sure if anyone else. Okay, I'll go ahead. As far as the auditions that you guys have on your website, I look at Breakdown Express sometimes because I have interned for management, and I have Actors Access on my end, but also I see breakdowns, and obviously, like, there's a big difference of what you see on either end. And I was just wondering, as far as your end goes, do you guys list all of the stuff that they put on Breakdown Express, or is it mainly like more like public postings, public listings?
Sure. Yeah. So we are not an audition site, meaning that nobody has listed a specific audition requesting a submission. We are solely for information, but we encourage you to use that information smartly and then do what we call a specific general submission. And what the difference is that when you see something on Actors Access, they're looking specifically for girl number one in classroom, whatever, one line, co-star, whatever. What we do is we try and get you to define your world. So then, like, again, you look like, 18 plus to play teens. And so there are tons of teen shows right now. So if I were you, you would want to add all of those to your target. Find the ones that really resonate with you, even more specifically with more skills, sports skills, language skills, just your vibe, anything like that. And then you would want to target those shows and write what we call a specific general submission. That isn't just like, hi, general, I'm a young actress who's great. You're saying, I would like to be seen for this show. I am X, Y, and Z, which is a perfect fit. But it is not like Actors Access or Breakdown Express where you are seeing specific ones. People do honestly get success from this. They do get called in. You get a higher rate of success when it's around language skills, if you speak a foreign language, or if you have specific, like I mentioned the figure skating one as a joke, but like a friend submitted for a show that was about a hockey player, about a real life person, and he played hockey in high school on a competitive level. And so he wrote and said, hi, I played this, I have excellent like puck command, these are things that like you just can't do anyone. And he got called in because he had that specific skill set that they wanted from an actor, and not every actor can you don't dribble it, what do you do, but hit a puck, handle a puck, there you go. So in that sense, that's how we say to use this information. We do we post what is public, meaning we spend all day literally just combing the internet and calling. We call our casting directors and we say, these are the shows that we have you listed as casting right now. Are there any others that you want to add or not? So because of that, that's how we get such an overarching umbrella of projects. Again, we only do union just because it would be huge otherwise, and because all of the non-union projects really are on these other platforms, so you can see them in that way. So we try and give you just a broad scope of information. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, that's perfect. Thank you so much. This is
yeah.
a great workshop. I'm definitely gonna sign up now.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Well, does anyone else have any other questions? You can either use the chat, or you can either raise your hand or unmute yourself and ask a question. It's up to you. I'll hang out for a little bit, but like I said, that's kind of all for me. Because I have my huge mason jar of water. Yeah, thank you, Sean, our social media guy. Follow us on social media. We post a lot of tips. We post things that are casting. We post a little info about the Up-to-Date Actor. We also love celebrating your successes. So if you book something and you email and are like, hey, I just booked this, we love promoting you on social media. So Sean just threw in our handles in the chat. So you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Yeah, hi, Miguel. So you just mentioned that you only do post-union stuff. So for non-union film and TV, where would we go?
Yeah, so you could definitely, you should be on Actors Access. You should be on casting networks. Mom, you might want to unmute yourself and you can say more. But I also want to mention, you shouldn't let a union status scare you from a project. Just because a project is union doesn't mean that if you're non-union, that you cannot act on that information. But again, even more so, you have to be very specific that you are right for that project. People also with the agents, they will see that an agency is franchised and they think then that they can't approach them. That just means that the agency is franchised with a union. It doesn't mean that they only accept union actors. So I don't know, Mom, you're there. If you want to unmute yourself, you can say more of them. But as far as, I just want to stress to not be don't limit yourself by the union and you not being union. I'm going to try and unmute Annie. Maybe when she comes back, there she is.
Yeah, I couldn't unmute myself. Larry, it's good to see you. We're going to be working together next week on the Fast Track.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
So that's something I've just started doing. I'm the career consultant for the Fast Track program at Actors Connection. And I'm been really impressed with the actors that I've already worked with, their commitment and their talent. Yes, I get this a lot. If you are non-union, you view the door as closed to you too often, and it's not. Agents and casting directors are looking for talent. they're looking for authentic talent. And if you are absolutely what they are looking for, they do not care whether you're union or non or union, especially in film and TV. That's why what Abby was saying about your skills, your uniqueness will get you an audition. And because that's what casting directors now are looking for, the authentic actor who can actually do those skills. So I encourage you to take away any concept of, oh, they say this is union and I can't submit myself. I know you are a voiceover artist already. I know that about you, Larry.
Yeah, and stage actor, lots of classical stuff. Yeah.
Right now in commercials and voiceovers, it is a non-union arena. I can venture to say approximately 80% of what's happening throughout the country, really, especially in New York, is non-union commercial and voiceover work, to the point that all of us SAG-AFTRA actors are really complaining how we're not getting that commercial work. So look at that. If you're non-union and you can work commercials and voiceovers, jump in, go after it. Agents, gosh, I think about 5 clients of mine have gotten assigned with commercial agents in the past 2 months. And really, mainly, several of them are non-union, but they also are, some that are union, are in different ethnic backgrounds, which is really hot now. If you're a person of color, if you have authentic languages, you're who people are looking for. So I hope that answers your question, Larry.
Yeah, that's great. I am Actors Equity, but not SAG-AFTRA. Yeah.
Well, you know what? You could be SAG-AFTRA if you wanted to, because it's an open door policy. I really wouldn't encourage you to do that right now. But if you are a member of Equity, it's an open door policy that you can, if you've been an active member for a year, you can then buy into SAG, and vice versa. If you're SAG-AFTRA, and you can buy into Equity, AEA. You can also buy into the music union, and you can buy into the union that governs, like Radio City. I get these terms mixed up sometimes, but just to know that. I don't really see that unions are a problem these days. I know a lot of actors do, but I really don't see that. You'll become union when you need to become union, but it doesn't at all mean you're not going to be paid to work.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I've heard, as you said, that 80% of the work is something for non-SAG-AFTRA. So I'm not running to get into SAG-AFTRA in that case. As non-union, there's more opportunity, especially for someone who has no experience in front of a camera.
Smart. That's the smart plan, Larry.
Well, does anyone have any other questions? If not, I'm gonna sign us off, but I want to say thank you for being here today. And if you have any other questions that you didn't feel comfortable asking now, you can always email me. My email is info@uptodateactor.com. I'll put it in the chat. And I try to respond as quickly as possible. And again, you can write me with like, hey, this seems like this is not working. You can say, hey, I don't know how to do this. Or you can say, this would be a great feature, and let me know. Oh, I do want to show you one teeny tiny quick thing that I should have showed you earlier. If you, where is my, here it is, okay. If you want more of this, if you want more of me, if you want to see my mom and hear some career tips, you can click on the main navigation and check out workshops and video tutorials. The video tutorials are short little things, like literally 5 minutes, that I recorded a while ago on how to do certain things. Some of the stuff has changed slightly, but it all is the same kind of information. So if you're like, how did I add a target to, you can click and check out the Target TV shows, plays, musicals, or how did I filter agents and managers? How do I filter projects? You can check out the video tutorials. And if you are like, hey, I want more of Annie and Abby and I want to see some past workshops, you can check out here. These are longer, like hour and 2 hour. These are 2 tutorials that I did, so like this. So again, if you kind of want to see my screen and an overview, but these are 2 workshops that we did over the summer, one from August and one from May, that you can check out. And it has a lot more tips about cover letters and how to approach agents and managers and casting directors and how to define your unique world. Lastly, we say it in our workshops, but if, I hope that you take this away, even if you don't, want to use the Up to Date Actor or anything, define your top 10 shows for each area that you're interested in. And if you're looking for an agent, define your top 10 agents. Really no more than 10, because otherwise it's overwhelming. Find your top 10 casting directors. We didn't talk about this a lot, but you need to know who's casting your shows. And then furthermore, you can start to create a parallel, or you can kind of understand who casts the shows, like similar shows. Like you'll see that certain, Jonathan Strauss does all of the Law and Order and FBI shows. So if that's what you're into, he should be on your targets. If you are into more like heady, intellectual, fast wit, fast dialogue, or not dialogue, but like legal jargon, medical jargon, that kind of thing. Mark Sachs, international, that kind of thing. You can see that by looking at what they cast and start to draw the lines and see most of them are specialists and will specialize in a certain type of show. So do that to define your 10. So have 10 of all of it, and happy researching, happy hunting. So if there's no other questions, I'm gonna sign off. Okie doke, guys. Have a great day, and thanks for sticking around with me. Bye.
Thank you, bye.